Hello, you are listening to the Blue Monday podcast. This is a 3 times weekly audio show looking into the exciting happenings of Ipswich Town Football Club. My name is Benjamin Bloom and I'll be here each and every Friday for the Blue Monday preview show with a special guest to get their insider view on the next opponents for Ipswich Town. Ladies and gentlemen, on the other end of Skype, he's just upgraded his phone, especially to do the podcast. Please welcome Mr. Andrew Dalton. Andy, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
No problem, thank you. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a bit weirded out because we did one with a Hull City fan who was called Andrew Dalton.
Freakish.
Yeah, and I'm going through my Skype. I'm like, I must have got this wrong. It's a different Andrew. It's a different Andy. And I'm thinking kind of north of England. You know, have we just got the same person?
Yes.
Right, let's give you a softball one to begin with. How did it start for you with Leeds? What is your vintage, and do you remember your first game?
It started for me in the early 90s, in 1990-91. My first ever game was Leeds United 4, Liverpool 5.
That was your first game?
91. Yeah,
insane.
Amazing. April 91. Yeah, 9 goals. I think at that time Ipswich were second division and sort of coming up. I know John Lyle obviously got promoted. I believe he got promoted at Oxford back in the season in April 92.
Very good.
And obviously came in 93. Yeah, and it just went from there. I'm a 2 times published author. I've written 2 books on Leeds United. One called Leeds United All White, one which is a vote for the 100 greatest players. I've also written a second book, Leeds United in the 1980s, which wasn't a great era for us. I know, obviously, for Ipswich, it's a fantastic. Certainly, the start of the decade with Sir Bobby Robson, sadly no longer with us. Obviously, you won the UEFA Cup, I think, in '81. I think John Walker was part of the team, and Frank Tyson, I think I pronounced that right.
Tyson, yes, very good.
Yeah, it's Frank Tyson. I think you beat AZ Alkmaar or something on those lines off the top of my head in a 2-legged tie. And yeah, I've never been since then. I worked for Radio Yorkshire. Well, I did doing the commentaries, and now I actually write the official match reports for the website. So
fantastic.
It's a massive part of my life. It has done for 25 years. And one thing I'll say is we've got an atrocious record at Portman Road, which you're probably quite aware of.
Yeah. What we're going to do later in the show, I'm going to try and guess as many of the top 10 of your 100. I'm not going to Google it because you can see me. I'm going to try and guess some of the top 10. Andy, let's go back to pre-season. So in pre-season, out goes Gary Monk claiming, I never felt there was any long-term intention or any intention to give me a long-term future at the club. Can you give me your take on Monk's season, and what were your thoughts when he was succeeded by Thomas Christensen, who, for any Ipswich fans, is a former
I think
Barcelona
at the time,
player?
Yes, very much so. I remember sitting at the time and doing the Wigan game last day of last season, and all the fans were going, sign Gary Monk, sign Gary Monk, sign Gary Monk. And then he never signed. Mr. Adrizzani came in and took the club over full stop from Massimo Cellino. And I remember checking my phone, I think in May, and it tweeted that Gary Monk has resigned from Leeds United. And we were quite taken aback by it. Now, I don't know if the rumours were true. They were talking to Middlesbrough at the time. Obviously, it didn't work out for him at Middlesbrough, and he's back on sort of the scrap heap, which isn't easy being on a football scrap heap. And it was a shock at the time. And I have to admit, when Thomas Christensen came in, it was a case of, who's this? We hadn't been down the continental approach for quite a while. I know we had Darko Milanic in charge for a short spell of 6 games in 14-15, but we'd never really been down that foreign route before, and it was quite a surprise. But we actually started the season really, really well, and we're top of the league in September, helped by one Bartosz Białkowski dropping the ball in his own net.
We'll do that. We'll do that in detail. We'll do that in detail in a few minutes.
And it was a case of who was this, but the season started like a house fire, and I have to admit, I thought everyone got a little bit too carried away too early. It's a championship, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and Wolves started quite slow and are probably going to win the league at a canter. So, yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, but we haven't had the same manager start 2 pre-seasons in a row since Simon Grayson back in 11-12. So that shows you that we haven't really had any managerial stability. So it was a shock, but nothing shocks you in football, and certainly nothing shocks you at Leeds United.
So the season starts, as you said, pretty well, but the headline news was Chris Wood goes to Burnley for 15 million. Was this
Yes.
inevitable? And how do you think the club kind of handled the whole thing in terms of the timing and replacing the goals?
Yeah, I think when you score 30 goals in a season, you're always going to attract interest, and it's a very short career. And I just think it was so late in the day. I think it happened when Leeds were playing at Sunderland, and the news broke that he wasn't in the squad. He left the training camp, and he went up to sign the papers to sign for Burnley. And unfortunately, any club in the Championship, as you well know, you lost Daryl Murphy a couple of years ago, and I don't really think you've replaced him. I know there's money difficulties, certainly Marcus Evans. I think the club did the best they possibly can. They got the best deal for Wood, and when the Premier League comes calling, it's very difficult to turn that kind of money down. And we got 15 million for him. We have spent some of it on the likes of Samuel Saiz and Gianni Alioski and what have you. But unfortunately, in the Championship, and I say it's even in the Premier League, you look at Philip Coutinho, that's just gone to Liverpool. Gone from Liverpool to Barcelona for 145 million. Every club, probably bar Man City and Barcelona, are selling clubs. So you just have to accept it. You get on with it. We've sold players more than Chris Wood. I remember when we sold Eric Cantona when I was 10 years old, and that was a shock then. And that was
1 million, 1.2 million or something?
1.2 million, yeah,
Wow.
and that was when I was growing up as a kid. So it happens, and it's football, it's part and parcel of it. I'm not a fan of the transfer window. I'm certainly not a fan of the January transfer window because everybody's sort of panicking and trying to get players in and players over the line. But it was disappointing to lose Wood, but I think it shows that other players have had to step up to the plate. And unfortunately from Leeds, and I'm not sure if you saw the Newport game at the weekend, we've lost probably our most influential player, Samuel Saiz, from spitting, which we'll come to shortly. But I think the goals have kind of been shared around of late.
Very good. After Wood goes, you mentioned, so Leeds go on a 5-game winning streak, including 4 clean sheets. So coming into the first game with Ipswich in September, you're top of the league. So how did he do it, given he was the new manager and the star player from last season disappears?
I think it was a case. It was just all new to him, and he'd have to learn on the job. And obviously the Cypriot League is a completely different level to the English Championship. And I think he got a little bit of momentum at the start of the season. We got some great results away from home, certainly away at Nottingham Forest. We don't have a really great record, and away at Sunderland. And we got that little bit of momentum. We beat Burton 5-0, and Burton were dire that day. We beat Birmingham 2-0, and Birmingham actually played quite well under Harry Redknapp, and Harry Redknapp got the sack a couple of days later. We then played Millwall. We never get an easy game at Millwall. I've never ever seen us win at Millwall. So it's always a hard place to go. And yeah, coming to the Ipswich game, I actually thought you played very, very well. I thought David McGoldrick became the first opposing player in the league to score at Ellen Road. And I think had Bartosz Białkowski not dropped the ball into the back of the net from Pablo Hernandez's corner, I think you'd have got something. And we never get an easy game against Mick McCarthy, of course. So as a self-confessed Leeds United fan, having sort of supported the side in the 1970s. But yeah, it's never easy against Ipswich. I thought you played really well that day. I thought you were very unlucky not to come out with anything. And it's strange looking through your results this year. That was the kind of result that sort of sent you on a little bit of a downward spiral. And you're still up there, and I think Mick's done a really good job. But I know there's a few murmurings going around, certainly after the Fulham defeat and the defeat, which was quite lacklustre against Sheffield United on Saturday.
So my take on the first game, it was a weird one actually. It was so we'd been playing this 4-4-2, and that was the game that actually, when you beat us with the 4-2-3-1, Mick actually changed systems after that game.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm pleased you said we played well, because that's one of the few away games. I looked it up earlier. We had 12 corners and we scored 2 goals. We've not done that at all. We had a big debate on our Twitter the other day about the fact that we just sit back in the away games now, and because Waghorn's so good at taking free kicks, you're just kind of waiting for him to stick a free kick in and someone to head it in. But in the Leeds game, my take on it was I just remember driving into the game, and it was 34,000 attendance, just people everywhere. You're top of the league, and I just think the whole occasion kind of. Do you know what I mean? You scored every moment you were on top. You scored, and go ahead, Andy. Go on.
Yeah, I thought we got a couple of lucky breaks. I think after David McGoldrick equalised, and that was the first time we conceded a league goal since the opening day. The first time we've seen a league goal at Ellen Road all season. We reacted so quickly, and Callum Phillipson took it round Białkowski, and Leeds went 2-1 up. And I remember talking to the media at half-time saying, we're in for a game this afternoon. And it's a silly mistake to make. Bielkowski, he'll catch that ball 9 times out of 100. And then you go, I think it was Joe Garner that got the second off the top of my head. And it was a nervy finish. And it was the same the season before. We beat you 1-0 the season before. But come to Portman Road, off the top of my head, I think we've won 2 in 10. And that was one in 2001-2 when, ironically, Matt Venus scored an own goal. He scored an own goal the season before as well. Yeah, and then we beat you in 2013-14, which you absolutely battered us that day. David McGoldrick gave you the league, and I think Luke Varney and Ross McCormack scored. We've had some horror shows at Portman Road. They've had to sit through the 4-1 the year later. We took the lead after 2 minutes. Antonucci scored, then he just battered us. 15-16, he scored in the last minute, and you really should have won that game 4-5-1. And last season, I remember coming away, I thought a point was a fair result. Poor pitch, not the greatest game to watch football on, but we will never get an easy game down at Portman Road, and I think kind of the record books show that as well.
I think a lot of our listeners will be interested, that you praised the away performance, because, like I said, it just hasn't been like that since. Funnily enough, since you changed the system, I think it just invites you to kind of stick your two midfielders, just drop back a little bit, and you end up being very defensive. But moving on from that game, so Leeds go on an absolutely horrible run. It's 8 defeats in 10 games. What happened?
I just think, certainly if you look at the defeats individually, Millwall bullied us, Cardiff bullied us, Sheffield United, Sheffield Wednesday, we were brilliant for 15 minutes and then fell to pieces. And then teams worked us out a little bit. The Sheffield United performance, I've never seen a striking performance as good as Leon Clark that day. I know he's done the rounds, he's a bit of a veteran. He was superb that day and he tore us to shreds. Derby County, as you've seen the run Derby have been on, they've been absolutely brilliant. Reading, we missed a penalty. If that goes in, it finishes 1-1. You then go to Brentford and 2 keeping mistakes from Lonergan costed you the game, and it was just some individual errors. And when we're playing teams that get into your face, like your Millwalls, like your Cardiffs, Leeds couldn't deal with them. And to be fair to Thomas Christensen, he actually learned from that very quickly. And apart from sort of the last couple of results, certainly the Birmingham result and the Newport result, which we'll come to shortly, he's learned his lesson very quickly. And I think it's a fair reflection of where we are in the league. We're 6th in the league. And I think that's a very fair reflection. I don't think we're any better than 6th at the moment. I think the league's much of a muchness bar, probably Wolves and even Derby. Sheffield United have had a blip and nestling around there. Aston Villa have had a blip and nestling around there. It's a championship. It's a crazy league. It's a daft league. But I think just going back to the original point, I just think it was individual errors that cost us, silly mistakes that you shouldn't be making at that level. But still in goal, and you chopped and changed the goalkeeper with Felix Wiedwald and Andy Lonergan. But I think they've learned from that. They came out after the Middlesbrough game, they were brilliant that day. OK, I lost 4-1 at Wolves, but I think Wolves will do that to a lot of teams. Went to Barnsley, played Barnsley off the park. I thought Barnsley were poor that day. Point at Villa, brilliant result away at QPR thanks to Kemaru hat-trick. Back-to-back home victories against Norwich City and Hull City, 1-0. Very similar games. Defence played very, very well that day. And then you lead up to the Christmas period, which I think was a vital period for all clubs. Went to Burton, weren't great first half. Brilliant free kick from Menendez to turn the game around. And then Birmingham, poor that day. I thought Steve Cottrell, he slowly turned a corner if you look at the Birmingham results. Got a great victory, I think, the other week at Reading as well. Forest, just lifeless at times. We tried. I think if Kemaru's shot doesn't hit the bar and goes in, it's a different game. And then Newport is another story entirely. And we got our bums smacked, basically, on Sunday afternoon, and we got what we deserved. So it's been a bit of a mixed season, a bit up and down, but we're still 6th for 60 points to play for, and there's a lot to play for between now and the end of the season.
Can you explain the streakiness, though? Because I made a joke about 2 weeks ago on our podcast. I said, right, Leeds were brilliant for 6 weeks, rubbish for 6 weeks, brilliant for 6 weeks, and it looks like, I mean, fingers crossed from an Ipswich point of view, like you mentioned, the past 3 games haven't been great. What's with the very erratic kind of form?
I think it's just the inconsistency of the championship. I think we've had a lot of injuries to deal with, and I'm not saying the teams haven't. I'm not kind of using that as an excuse, but I just think on any given day in this league, I think anyone could beat anyone. Yeah, even Sunderland have got some decent results of like they got whooped at Sheffield United, and I think they won a home game against Fulham. So I think it's the team who's the most consistent, not necessarily the second best team, because I think Wolves will win the league and I think Wolves will get 100 points, probably 100 goals. It's just inconsistency, and it's so frustrating because you look at the results sometimes and you think, oh, if we'd done this and done that, and I think every team's done that, but it's just the consistency. If you get it right and what have you, we've lost Samuel Saiz for 6 games as our best player on Saturday afternoon, so injuries play a part. That's the same for every team, and it's if you get the consistency levels right in this league and you're on form, you'll win most matches. If you're not and you're below par, like we've been sort of from October, November time, you'll get beaten, and that's just the championship, and it's been like that for years, and that's probably why you don't see a skimp bookie around anymore, because you can't bet on the championship.
Absolutely. Just take me through the team. So I've obviously only seen you once this season.
Yes.
The away game. I enjoyed Cooper at the back,
yeah.
and Janssen wasn't around. I really enjoyed Janssen last year.
Yeah.
The worry I had was Wiedwald, and it was very, very tense when he was. The centre halves were splitting, and a lot of your fans were, kick it long, kick it long. How's the defence, and has Wiedwald settled now?
Yeah, I think it was a case that we're playing the ball out from the back, sort of Barcelona style, and I've always maintained you can only do that if you've got the players, and I don't think we've got the players to adapt to that particular way. Liam Cooper's come on leaps and bounds, club captain. I think he's had a fine season. He made one error at Cardiff City, but every player's made errors, and I'm not going to criticize him for that one bit. I think he's had a brilliant season, Liam Cooper. And I think Pontus Jansson, I know he missed out that day. I think young Conor Shaughnessy played in the central defence that day. He's had a fine season as Pontus. He comes back to his old self. We've just had the news yesterday that Luke Ayling is out for the season with ankle damage, so I think he'll switch Gaetano Berardi to right back, who's a wholehearted player. Scored his first goal for the club in 102 appearances on Sunday, and then we just bought this new Belgian in this afternoon, De Bock, who's a left back, and I would expect him to probably fit straight in at left back. So be a little bit different from the defence that you saw in September. So yeah, I think Wiedwald has calmed down. I think the first 5 games didn't have anything to do about the first game of the season. So yeah, I think it's just a case that he's grown into the role. He did play Andy Lonergan for a bit. Andy made a couple of errors, which he'll probably own up to. So yeah, he's having the consistency, knowing the back four and knowing the players that you're dealing with as well. Because for me, familiarity breeds contempt, and that's the thing with defence. You've got a strong defence, you've got a consistent defence, you'll get results. You know how each other play, but they'll be on the training field tomorrow. I'm sure they'll do the presser tomorrow, and they'll be ready to go for Portman Road and hopefully right the wrongs of last Sunday.
And O'Kane and Phillips, I assume it's going to be those two. And
yeah, it looks like young Ron Vieira, who won Young Player of the Year last year, he's out injured at the moment. They're not sure how long his injury is going to be. He's not quite settled down. I love O'Kane. I think he tidies things up. I think he's a lovely little tidy player. And I think Calvin comes in for a lot of unfair criticisms as far as I'm concerned. I think he's had a great season. He's young. He'll get better and better and better. And yeah, I think they'll be the two that sort of sit in front of the back four. I think that's the option we've got. Mateus Click played against Newport County as in their options. I'm sure he'll be in and around the squad somewhere along the lines. But yeah, I would certainly expect O'Kane and Phillips to be those midfield too.
You mentioned earlier that you've gone from one guy scoring 30 goals to, and I've got, so Roof has got 7, and then Alioski, Phillips, Lasogga have all got 5, and Hernandez have got 4. Has the style actually changed a bit to spread them out, or has that just been...
It has a little bit, because last season we were so reliant on trying to get the ball forward to Chris Wood, and Chris Wood will get you goals, and look, you got your 30 goals last season, so I'm not going to deny that fact. I think it's just a case that other players have had to step up to the plate. Obviously, you got Samu Saiz in there as well, and obviously he is a big loss for the next 6 games or so.
Sorry, Andy, did he get 6 for spitting?
He did. He did. Yeah, unfortunately, it's something you can't do in football. It's horrible. He knows he's done wrong. I think he's apologised to the club as well, and I think he knows he's let himself down a little bit, and we miss him for a key stage of the season, and by that time you don't know whether the season will be. So, yeah, but I think we've had to share the goals out. I think it's the only way to do it. You can't be reliant on one man. We've been very unlucky with injuries up top. We had Caleb Ekaban. I know he didn't play against you back in September. He's shown glimpses when he's been fit, and he's been injured, which has been really unlucky. Lasogga will get there. He needs fitness. He knows that. If you put Lasogga in the box, 99 times 100 will score. Roof got a hat-trick against QPR the other week. So we have got options there, but I think, well, any club wants an extra striker, don't they? Not just Leeds. But if they look at it, they've had to share the goals around, because the players have stepped up to the plate and not be so reliant on one particular player this season.
So, from what you're saying, compared to the team that played the first game, we're expecting the fullbacks to change, and will it just be Roof coming for size?
I'd imagine it'll be the fullbacks, you rightly say. I'm guessing it'll probably be Roof, Hernandez, Alioski, and probably Lasogga. Unless he changes it with Mish Stewart Dallas, who scored in the fixture, of course, at Portman Road last season in a 1-1 draw. Yeah, we've just got so many injuries at the moment. It's so difficult. It might take a couple of young kids. I know the likes of Liam Kitchen was on the bench. Jack Clark was on the bench at Newport on Sunday. They haven't got that many options. If you look down at the squad, they are sort of short at the moment. So possibly Hernandez will definitely start. Alioski will definitely start. I'd imagine Roof will probably start. I'd imagine probably Pierre-Michel Lasogga will start, because we haven't got too many other options with injuries at the moment.
And can you kind of give us the 3 standout players of that team?
From the one that's going to start on Sunday, Saturday, should I say. Pontus, who's a rock at the back. Probably Hernandez, who sort of makes things happen, and Alioski on his day can be pretty unplayable, and if he has a really good day, it'll make life difficult for your defence. But it's having those days and having those days and getting a result at Portman Road. They need a response. The club know they need a response from the disappointment on Sunday at Ronnie Parade, and it's a hard place to go. It's a daunting place to go, playing against Mick McCarthy's side. Leeds will expect a reaction from Ipswich after 2 poor performances, having been beaten. I think you're 1-0 up at Fulham as well, and you just capitulated a little bit, and then obviously the defeat against Sheffield United in the Cup. So it's a little bit 2 wounded animals coming head-to-head at Portman Road. I think it should make it for an entertaining game on Saturday.
What's going to happen then?
$1 million question. It was quite, if you look back to the game, I don't know, it was a quite free-flowing game of football. I love watching Martin Wycorn play. I think he's got a cracking peg on him. McGoldrick keeps going and keeps proving people wrong. And Leeds have got to be on the guard.
He may not start, McGoldrick.
Who else have you got sort of up front? Joey Garner, mate, possibly?
It'll probably be Garner, Selina left. Oh no, Ward's out. Yeah, McGoldrick will start actually, and it'll be Waghorn and McGoldrick. I know what you were saying earlier in the show about we've struggled when we come up against like Ian Holloway or that type of manager. When we've come up against Warburton, Stam and Dean Smith, we've actually beaten all of them because they've stood and played their football. We've stood off and scored from set plays and quick attacks. So I think the hope from the Ipswich fans are that your 3 pretty players off the front will be able to. Do you know what? That's I guess the hope.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a game for the purists. I think it'll be a close-knit affair. As I say, you don't get easy games against the Mick McCarthy side, and I'm probably going to sit on the fence and go for a 1-1 draw, which I don't think will be a bad result, because then Leeds have got Millwall coming to Ellen Road a week on Saturday. Again, that won't be an easy game. Chopper Harris always has them fired up and what have you. So I'll go for a 1-1 draw. I could be completely wrong, and either side could come out and win 3-0. But Leeds are tight at the back. They don't concede too many goals, especially with Cooper and Janssen at the back 4, and those 2 have been excellent of late. So I think a 1-1 draw, very similar game to last year when both sides sort of cancelled each other out, and I think a point away from them at Portman Road will be a decent result for Leeds.
And just looking a bit further on, what about the transfer window, and what about obviously you said that the league's not much of a muchness, and like most people, you're thinking it's going to be Derby and Wolves. But you think you're a good shout for the playoffs? Yeah,
I think again it's much of a muchness because everybody's kind of had a blip. Sheffield had a horrible blip of late and sort of dropped out, and Villa lost a couple of results and what have you. So I think if we're consistent enough, we looked at the table the other day. I think we're on 43 points at the moment. We've got 60 to play for. I reckon 12 wins, 36 points, 79 should just about make it. And if you're not, you're very unlucky. Yeah. I know last year we just missed out. We just sort of fell away at the back end of last season. So, 12 wins will probably do it. But I think every other manager will say that. Sheffield Wednesday, I know they've just appointed their new boss. They'll be looking to go on a run. But they've got to start the Steel City Derby tomorrow night, which will be one to watch as well. So, I think if Leeds can get their act together, they're going to have to learn how to cope without Saiz and try and win games without Saiz. It's a tricky run. We've got the likes of Bristol City coming up, Cardiff City coming up as well, Hull City, Derby County. So we're kind of playing the teams around us. So if we can take points off them, we've got a chance. But it's a tough league. We've been outside the top flight now since 2004, and I remember the fateful day. I don't know if you were at the game at Ellen Road in 2007 when Leeds were actually relegated to League One. I know there were a lot of unsavoury scenes which left a little bit of a bitter taste. And yeah, the sort of less said that about the better. And it took us 3 years to come back, but we've been out of the top flight now for 14 seasons. And I actually think Ipswich is the only side that better that. I think you got relegated in 2001 too.
I think some of our supporters would rather have done the dare I say the Norwich thing or the Watford thing or whatever, and actually gone down another one and with Sheffield United at the moment. But Andy, let's go to listeners' tweets. So my thread's got a bit hijacked, but right, this is from Richard. Biggest regret sliding doors moment which contributed to the fall from being top 4 Premier League, Champions League to League One in 6 years.
I think it was a case. Actually, it's funny because there was a game actually at Ellen Road at U121 in September 2000. I actually think Jermaine Wright, who later played for Leeds, actually scored in that game. And we lost silly games at the start of the 2000s, certainly at home to the likes of Man City, to the likes of Ipswich Town, and you can't be dropping points, and that's no disrespect to those kind of sides who've just come up from the as it was the old First Division back then. And there was a game against Man United that we missed a penalty, and if we won that game, probably got into the Champions League, and slowly but surely we missed out on the Champions League the following season and finished 5th. And then it just kind of started to fall to pieces. O'Leary got the sack, Terry Venables came in, that didn't work. Peter Risdale left, John McKenzie came in, that didn't work. Peter Reid and what have you. And eventually Eddie Gray came in and we got relegated to the then Championship. And it was tough because we had to solve everything. We sold virtually every player going, apart from the likes of Gary Kelly and Michael Dewberry, the only two that kind of stayed around. And you think, okay, we'll consolidate in the Premier League, in the Championship for one season and crack on with it, similar to what kind of Ipswich did in 2002-03. I actually remember a game you beat Amnir Begin, I think 8-1 in the UEFA Cup tie and whatnot. And I think you just missed out on the playoffs that year, and you made the playoffs in 2003-04 and lost to West Ham. And similarly to kind of what Leeds did in 2005-06. They beat Preston over 2 legs. Brilliant day out at Deep. Dan actually went to uni at Preston at UClan, so that was even more enjoyable. But then we got to Cardiff and got beat 3-0 in the playoff final, and everything just kind of fell away. Got relegated to League One, and you sat there thinking 6 years ago I was watching Leeds in a Champions League semi-final against Valencia. 6 years later, you're watching them in League One away at Tranmere. That's not being disrespectful to Tranmere. That's just what was sort of thrown at us and presented at us at the time. So yeah, it's been a real roller coaster, and it took us 3 years to get out of the League One, the doldrums of League One, and we lost in the playoffs in both seasons. In 2007, the playoff final to Donny. In 2008-09 to Millwall, and finally the relief of getting out of League One in 2009-10 was absolutely paramount. And if you look back on it, the first year in 2011, we finished 7th and really should have made the playoffs that year. We fell away at the back end of that season. Simon Grayson then got the sack, and Neil Warnock came in. And I have to admit, I remember doing an interview for the BBC Football League show back in February 2012, and I actually said I had to eat my words in the end that Neil Warnock would take Leeds to the Premier League, and it didn't quite work out. I thought Warnock was a wily old fox and would get Leeds going, and it didn't work out. Brian McDermott came in, and that didn't work out for a variety of reasons, with Massimo Cellino's takeover and what have you. David Hockaday took over, and you coming here as a ex-Forest Green Rovers manager, and I'm not trying to be, again, disrespectful, but this is Leeds United Football Club, and I thought the way Cellino handled certain things wasn't quite right. Hockaday got the sack after, I think, 6 games in all, 6 game league games in charge as well, so that was that. Then Neil Redfern, a good friend of mine, took over and had a decent run, and he kind of stepped aside for Darko Milanic to come in, and that was another strange appointment. And we were going through head coaches more than anything, and it was just a very strange time to know what was going on, because you wake up every morning, you check social media, and you're thinking, what's going on now? It's just like another story with Leeds United. And then I remember Steve Thompson got the sack as assistant manager, and no one knew, even to this day, why Steve Thompson got the sack. Neil Redfern stepped aside as head coach in the 2015 season, and Uwe Rosler came in, and he got the sack after, I think, 12 games in November, in sort of, I think, October 2015. Steve Evans came in, and I thought Steve did a really good job.
We had a lot of fun with Steve Evans on our podcast.
Yeah,
as well.
I can imagine he's a bit of a character, Steve, but the old school. And it was just manager after manager. And Gary came in, Gary Monk. And I thought, to be fair to Gary, I know he's had his critics at the time. I thought he did a very good job at the time to get Leeds back up where they should have been belonging, the fellow at the back end. So it's been so much of change. It's great with Radrizzardi. We've got a lot of stability now. We know what's going on off the pitch and what have you. So, yeah, I think you've got to be a stable football club upstairs. If you are upstairs, it comes down onto the pitch. And I'm a firm believer if things aren't great up top, it does affect performances, and that was kind of shown in the period between 2014 and 2015 when you didn't know what you're going to wake up to. But yeah, I think the biggest regret was not making the Champions League again in 2001 and missing out. And if you look back, that's probably the moment when it kind of all went tits up, basically.
This is from Tricky. He's half taking the mick. He says, how many fans are they bringing? And this is a kind of reference to Leeds' claims. But what I will say is, if you look at the TV people, they always put Leeds on, and there's a reason they're putting Leeds on. And if I make if I make a YouTube match review video and I do Leeds, I get more views. So there is something in it. But do you kind of laugh at the Mickey take at the millions of fans?
It's always there's always the social media Leeds will take. I just think we're a very well supported club. We're a one city club. We always have been, and whether we're in the doldrums, even in League One, we sold out quite a lot of allocations away from home, and I just think the fans just go everywhere. I think they're fanatical. I think they're mad, they're crazy, they're bonkers, and they'll do everything to get that ticket for the game. If it's Saturday, Wednesday, whatever night, we'll try and sell out. And it's not just Leeds. Look, a lot of clubs do it, and I know it's a little bit of banter at times, but yeah, we've got a very fanatical support. And I think that goes for most clubs as well. I remember when Ipswich played into Milan in 2001 at the San Siro. I think we saw 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 fans.
There's 10,000 there. Yeah.
A lot of fans.
I think there's only about 30,000 in the stadium as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you won the first leg 1-0 and Armstrong scored, and unfortunately just fell to pieces second leg. But look, we've got a great support. I'm not going to deny that, but I think it's just a little bit of a banterish joke saying Leeds will take more everywhere they go.
Tim says, how do you feel about the Dirty Leeds tag, which has managed to hang around for probably 40 years
now? I think that came from Don Revy's side back in the 60s and 70s, that we like to kick teams off the pitch. And obviously there's the great film with Brian Clough, The Damn United, where it's kind of modelled on Don Revy, that we didn't win anything fairly. And it kind of sticks a little bit, doesn't it, just through sort of the ages and what have you. So, look, that'll always be around, and it's just a tag that, following you've just got used to, and every time there's a sending off, it kind of raises its ugly head once again. But I'm guessing that's just football, and it's there, and it'll be there when I go on and pass on and what have you, and it'll just go on through generations, because it's something that's stuck with the football club for nearly 50 years.
And just a quick one, big hello from the Renegade Statman, who's on our podcast as well. You're basically the Yorkshire version of him, and he's basically the Suffolk version of you,
I John quite a lot. He's helped me out with a few bits and pieces and a few stats and what have you. So, yeah, top man is Chomp, and I don't know where you all sit on Saturday. I'll be sitting in the press box on Saturday if you're in the main stand at all or not. But
I'm sat right in front of you. Yeah, I'll come and say hi. Yeah.
Yes, feel free. I'll be there about 1:30, 1:45, sitting with my laptop and everything, doing the official match report for the club website. So if you want to come and say hello, I shall be there. But yeah, he's really helped me, Chomp, quite a lot with a few bits and pieces, and I think he put me in contact with yourself as well, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Fantastic. Quick one from me. I'll give you two choices for you to wax about. One, Strachan, Batty, McAllister speed. I just love that midfield. And the other, anyone my age, Tony Yeboah. Take your pick.
Midfield. That midfield, and I say that is because as great as Yeboah was and scored some brilliant goals, actually got his first hat for Leeds in a 4-0 victory over Ipswich, I think in April '95. But that midfield, God rest his soul, Gary's been no longer with us, won the title. When no one expected, everyone expected Man United to go on and win the title in '92, and Leeds did it with that midfield. And
other than Strachan, the other three of them were really young as well, weren't they?
Yeah, Batty came through the academy at Leeds, so did Speed, and McAllister joined in '91, I think about 26 or so. So brilliant midfield, and to do something like that when Strachan signed in '89, he came from Man United, a club obviously were not quite at it at that stage, and obviously there was a great tale if they'd lost the FA Cup title against Nottingham Forest under Fergie in 1990, he'd probably been out the door. But what Strachan did with Leeds, he took the club out the doldrums in the old Division 2 and took them to the Premier League, and took them to the first division title, and won promotion in 89-90, and to win the title within 2 years, unbelievable. And that midfield will go down in folklore. Batty, brilliant. Absolutely love David Batty. I think he's become a little bit of recluse of football, unfortunately. I don't think he knows football too much, but absolute cult hero at Leeds. I actually remember a game in 92-3, in October 92 at Portman Road. Actually, he played it off the park in the first half. He won 4-2, and I remember David Batty bringing down Paul Goddard for a penalty. He probably should have been sent off that day. But yeah, that midfield was just incredible, and to win the league title, I'm proud to say that I've seen Leeds win the championship even at a young age. But that midfield just took games by the scruff of the neck, and you got goals as well, and you got Batty the hard man, McAllister sort of the creativity, Speed sort of with a guile and what have you, and Strachan just to pull it all together.
Before we go to your favourite players since you've been watching, I'm going to try and do some of your top 10 now.
Yeah.
I reckon surely I can get 6. Surely. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Clark.
Yes.
Lorimer.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Cantona.
No.
Really?
Not in there. It's different demographics. It's
Okay.
different demographic age groups.
Bremner.
Yeah, number 1.
Charlton.
Yeah.
I think I've got.
Yes.
Are there any modern ones at all?
There was Lucas Radaby.
Oh, okay. And who were the other 3? I think.
I think off the top of my head, John Charles was in there.
Oh God, Jesus, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was the great, and I can't remember the other 6. We did the book so long ago. But I think Terry Cooper might have been in there as well. So a lot of the 70s era.
Not Jermaine Wright, Andy.
No. Not Jermaine Wright, although saying they had a slow start to his Leeds career, but after that he kind of, I thought he was a great player, Ipswich. I think he came from the Crewe Academy, Jermaine Wright.
He was the strange player who was better in the Premier League than he was in the Championship. The Premier League suited him better. It's strange.
Yeah, and he took his time to settle in the Championship with Leeds, and he had one full season. Then shipped out on loan to Millwall, came back and it didn't quite work out for him. But he had a good season at Leeds. I was actually quite excited when he signed, because I remember Saturday day we got relegated thinking, who on earth we're going to sign for next season, and all sorts of players sort of kind of popped up and what have you. So strange time, but it's always interesting when you get relegated, because it's kind of a new oddity going to all the new grounds you've not been to, and obviously we're quite similar in the fact we've been outside the Premier League for so long. And I hope they do get there before I do go up to my grave in when 67 years, however many it'll be. But yeah, I thought Jermaine Wright was quite unlucky. He had a lot of injuries as well. I think he was homesick as well, having been in Suffolk for so long. And there's always one player I'd love to have seen at Leeds that played at Ipswich. That would have been Richard Wright. Growing up, playing on Chat Manager as a kid, I always signed Richard Wright because I thought it was the next big goalkeeper, and he never really quite made it as a Arsenal.
Ipswich does a funny thing to players because it's such a goldfish bowl in a small place. Very, very few players actually leave, other than sort of John Walk, Dyer.
Yeah.
You know, very, very few players actually leave and then go and excel. But quickly, just before we wrap up, favourite player for Leeds since you've been watching?
Ollie Dakar. Growing up watching the Champions League era, just absolutely brilliant. Wholehearted midfielder. Came from RC Lens. Back in 2007.2 million, which is our transfer record at the time. And yeah, just a wholehearted midfielder. I think he actually played in the 2-1 victory at Portman Road back in February 2001, when I think Marcus Stewart actually got sent off for a second buckle offence for stopping Ian Hart.
The day I grew to hate Ian Hart, yeah?
Yes. So yeah, there's so many to pick from, but just for the way he played, and he got us to the semi-final of the Champions League, and it's memories that'll live with me for a long time. So yeah, Ollie Dakar for me, wonderful player. He was one of the first players I got on the back of my shirt as well, because I learned the golden rule: never get a player on the back of the shirt. You never know when they might leave.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Andy, do you want to just do one more plug for your Twitter and for your writing and whatnot?
Yes, I'm on at LUFC Stats. I come up with all different statistics, and I'm sure I'll provide some between now and kick off on Saturday afternoon. If you want to read my stuff, it's on the Leeds United website, www.leedsunited.com, usually an hour after the game on Saturday. And yeah, looking very much forward to making the trip down to Suffolk on Saturday afternoon.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Andy, for coming on. If you've got this far, you're probably already a subscriber to the Blue Monday podcast. So 3 shows per week. You can follow us on Twitter at Blue Monday ITFC. You can follow me on YouTube. Just type in Benjamin Bloom. And we're actually putting some effort into the Facebook at the moment, so you can catch us
Super.
there. Andy, thank you so much. And we'll see you on Saturday.
Look forward to it, and I'll be in the press box around about 1:45.